As talks between the White House and House Democrats remain stalled, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is planning a vote for a narrow economic relief measure for next week. Next Monday, McConnell says his chamber will vote on a package including new funding for small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program, money for schools, a boost in unemployment benefits, and liability protection for businesses. The decision comes after many Senate Republicans rejected the White House's $1.8 trillion comprehensive proposal. The bill is considered unlikely to advance through the House, where Speaker Nancy Pelosi has insisted on a more comprehensive package, including a return of direct payments to Americans and additional unemployment benefits like the extra $600 that expired at the end of July. On Twitter, President Trump told Congress to go further, writing, quote, "Go big or go home." Tim Phillips is a senior advisor for Americans for Prosperity Action, the political advocacy group backed by the influential donor Charles Koch. Tim, welcome. Thanks very much for being with us. Earlier this month, you were quoted in the Washington Post saying, "We are very concerned about any possible deal at this point. We are encouraging Congress, do not do another spending deal." Now, the Fed chair says that too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses. Why are you opposed to a deal?
The government has already spent trillions of dollars, and some of that was needed, and it's done a lot of good. At this point, however, spending $2 trillion more dollars, in many cases to bail out big spending states that have nothing to do with this pandemic, that's not fair. It's not a good idea. And the key to getting this economy going again is being able to, in a responsible way, find ways to open up this economy, allow Americans to flourish, rather than more spending by government. So we do think it's a bad idea. We urge President Trump and Speaker Pelosi not to do this. And we applaud the Republicans in the Senate who are saying no way on another $1.8 trillion.
I do want to raise some data here. According to Census Bureau data, 10% of adults, more than 30 million people, live in households where there was not enough to eat in the last 7 days. In addition, another 5 million school-age children are living in food-scarce households. Is there a level of emergency, in your view, which would warrant intervening with government funding?
Absolutely. In fact, there are hundreds of billions of dollars already appropriated by Congress in the last two legislative approaches to this pandemic that are unspent. So we would urge government to actually become better at getting these services to folks in need, because there are very real needs here. But there are literally hundreds of billions of dollars still in the pipeline that are unspent at this point. So rather than simply appropriating another couple of $1 trillion, it'll take another 6 to 8 to 10 months to ever get into the pipeline. We would urge government to do the hard work of being efficient to actually get this support, this help to those who are in need. We would also urge government to look to get this economy open and moving again. You know, there are ways to do that responsible. A lot of states are already doing that. I think about Georgia and Arizona and Florida, states that are already doing that. And that's making a difference in helping people get their jobs back, helping people have income, helping folks get their lives back. Because what Americans want is their normal life back. That's what they want. And it's not going to happen simply by spending another couple of $1 trillion from government.
I want to turn to another topic. Americans for Prosperity is running what the group is describing as a full-scale campaign to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, as the organization did for Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. What are you hoping a Justice Barrett would do on the High Court?
We would hope that she would simply, strictly interpret the Constitution. We do not need judges, and the Constitution does not call for judges that make policy from the judicial bench. And so there are no policy outcomes that we would seek from Judge Barrett. We would simply urge her, and her record indicates that she would, simply, strictly interpret the Constitution, apply it to cases that come before her, so that Americans can have assurance that when the courts are making decisions, that they're fulfilling their proper role under the American Constitution. So again, no policy outcomes are we seeking. We just believe that judges, and as the Constitution indicates, should simply interpret the Constitution, apply it to the laws and to the cases that come before them. And Judge Barrett's record, both in her writings and also on the circuit court, Seventh Circuit, indicate that she is very qualified to do exactly that. So we strongly support her confirmation in the Supreme Court.
In our final minutes, Tim, I also want to ask about your group's priorities for the upcoming election. Now, Americans for Prosperity is not openly backing the president's re-election bid, but where are you devoting the most resources? What are the top issues you'd like to see addressed?
The United States Senate is the priority for us. So we're engaged with AFD Action in 7 U.S. Senate campaigns. I'm in Georgia today. Senator David Perdue is one of those 7. And we want to make sure that these senators, and the reason we're supporting them, is that they'll push policies that are genuinely about freedom, prosperity, and moving this country forward, knocking down the barriers that hold people back from the American dream. And so those are the kind of candidates we're supporting. The Senate is our priority, whether it's Senator David Perdue in Georgia or Senator Steve Daines in Montana or Senator Tom Tillis in North Carolina. We have thousands of grassroots activists working with hundreds of field staff, knocking on doors. That's what I was doing today, delivering that message that let's reelect these really good senators who are fighting a good fight that can help our country be a better, stronger place. And so that's what we're doing with Americans for Prosperity Action.
Is it a bit of a tougher uphill climb given the political landscape here and what we're seeing in the polls with respect to President Trump?
It's challenging, absolutely, and early voting is certainly something that is newer, this level of early voting. And so here in Georgia, Senator Perdue, our polls show that he's ahead at this point. It's close, but that he has a slight lead in the polls. But you bet, it is an absolutely challenging environment. I think this is going to be the highest voter turnout in modern American history. Voters are paying attention this year. They know that politics matters more than probably it ever has, given the pandemic, the economic crisis, some of the other cultural challenges we're facing as a country. So I do believe we're going to see the highest turnout we've ever seen before. That's a good thing. And we want to make sure that voters hear the accurate truth about the record of these candidates like Senator Perdue that we're supporting.
Tim Phillips with Americans for Prosperity. Tim, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.